in a bid to bring together global pharma thought leaders and practicing professionals in the fields of regulatory compliance, organizational quality and business performance, Indian Drug Manufacturers Association joined hands with UL India to organize Indian Pharma Regulatory and Compliance Summit 2014.
We felt that it's an important time for the Indian drugs and pharmaceutical sector because we are asking some significant questions. And I put them down as, how do I comply? Very simple question, how do I comply? Second, how do I demonstrate that I comply? How do I demonstrate repeatedly that I comply? And how do I demonstrate that I repeatedly comply in a profitable manner? And I'm sure that there will be one another big question in your minds. As I expand my facilities in India and globally, how do I build capacity? How do I build capability? It's not that I do it once and I do it right. I have to do it again and again, repeatedly, and do it right. And we know that drugs and pharmaceuticals, that category of products, is highly regulated, will continue to get regulated, and there will be enhanced requirements on compliance. So in a changing scenario where the sands are shifting, how do I continue to comply? How do I keep myself up to date? So the question will be, do I have a process that helps me achieve these goals? Do I have a fabric of quality compliance mechanism that helps me achieve these goals repeatedly? And that, my friends, is the goal of today's summit.
Indian pharmaceutical industry has earned a name by not only making affordable and quality drugs, not just for India, but for more than 200 countries. Naturally, there will be scrutiny for quality from various countries, since our products should protect the public health. This will be more so with respect to USA, which buys 29% of our exports. We understand that 40% of the generic formulation consumed in USA are from India. US FDA will certainly scrutinize our manufacturing plant, numbering more than 300, for quality adherence and regulatory compliances to safeguard the quality and safety of the products used by the consumers. It is the responsibility of the Indian pharmaceutical industry to understand global benchmarks, keep high standards in product quality, and give the necessary confidence to the world.
Coming to maybe sustaining compliance, how do we do that? So GMP inspection is a sample exercise. Earlier were the days, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, they were the days when our sites were being visited maybe for 2 weeks or 3 weeks. But an inspector cannot examine everything. The inspector is there in the site maybe for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, maybe a week. Concentrate on those operations where, in his judgment or her judgment, any failure to comply with GMP is likely to give rise to the greatest risk to the patient. That is the attitude that we look for. And wherever these things are noticed, it could be smaller, it is an issue.
The highlight of the summit was a panel discussion that put the spotlight on the changing landscape in regulatory and compliance.
This is an interesting time that we have for today's session. It was not planned this way, that it come right on the heels of Dr. Hamburg's historic visit and everything that made newsworthy over the past 10 days. I know several of you have been participants in her sessions, and hopefully we can hear a little bit more about that during this time. So I just think it's appropriate to really echo Dr. Hamburg's words from her own blog that she wrote this past weekend, where she really spoke mainly about why quality matters, and as it transforms into patient safety from a global perspective, as she compared walking the Taj Mahal and the beauty and the detail, attention to detail, as it reflects on this very, very important industry of ours and the Indian pharmaceutical community. So with that, I'm going to turn and ask each of the panelists to comment and just provide their own perspective on this visit, what comes next, what are the implications and learnings? So let me begin with you, Dr. Viman.
Yeah. I mean, I think she is naturally concerned about the products from India because consumers from US, 40% of them are taking generics from India. And she is concerned about the quality and safety of Indian products. She came here to set right, I mean, ensure that good quality products come from India. So it's a very positive, in my view, it is very positive. And also she has mentioned in one of the blogs, in her blog, that because a few companies had lapses, I mean, there are many major companies doing good job, should not be overshadowed. So that also shows that she is having a very positive view. So she came with a positive intent. The idea is to help improvement of the Indian pharmaceutical products. So I think we should take it in the right spirit.
So it is a supportive visit.
Supportive.
Exactly, exactly. And Dr. Prashant, would you agree?
I would completely agree. I think her visit was a good one, and I don't think the pharmaceutical companies in India should feel weak. I think we know the laws, we know the regulations. I've looked through the regulation. I have that fact book on my desk, and I actually go through. So while it is written in black and white, it is for each one of us to actually demonstrate that every single day we are making good quality products.
The man with the right answers. For 19 years, he has fought relentlessly for your money, your rights. She has dedicated her life to spreading financial literacy. When it comes to personal finance, there is none better. Vivek Law, Monica Haller, and when they get together, your money gets smarter. BSC Investors Protection Fund presents Smart Money.
Presented by BSC Investors Protection Fund.
Are you hiding something? Property transactions, cash deposits, big purchases, purchase of shares, bonds and debentures. Don't hide anything because we know everything. Don't wait for notice from Income Tax Department. Pay your advance tax honestly by 15th of this month and be a partner in India's progress with pride.
While all of 2030 was a stalled project, is coming out with a business trust.
So I think that should be a headline.
Cam 3, 2, 1, cue.
What a CEO knows, what a CEO needs to know. Get started. Stay in business.
They are the torchbearers of change in India. Women who have risen to the top to lead from the front. Through excellence, hard work and enterprise. We'll take you on a journey with women leaders who have redefined success and paved the way for a whole new generation. Meet the women in power and find out how they're rewriting the rules.
Presented by LIC of India. LIC का हो साथ तो फिक्र की छोड़ो बात. In association with Etihad Airways. The world is our home. You are our guest. Luxury partner Omega Ladymatic.
You were in the sessions, as was Amuda in the sessions, Mr. Amuda, this past week, and heard sort of the interplay, I assume, between the quality members of the quality organizations and Dr. Hamburg, and really reflecting on the need to keep the bar high.
Yes.
So maybe then I will turn and see if you can add a little bit on.
Yes, I would agree with Mr. Veeramani that in her visit, one thing was very clear, that the importance of India as a supplier of generic medicines is well acknowledged. We have certainly taken pride in achieving what we have achieved in last 10 years, third largest manufacturer of drugs and in terms of volume. All regulatory agencies accepted. In fact, when people say it is incredible India, I would like to say it is indispensable India. Without India, definitely this is a manufacturing destination ultimate of the world, and that is acknowledged. However, in the changing times, the message is very, very clear. If you read her blogs and the interviews, quality is the recurring theme that she kept it in her mind to talk about. And there's nothing wrong in re-emphasizing things and refocus. If you ask me, this is a global phenomenon.
So let me pick up on what you've just said and ask Aditi the question here. The market for Indian drugs, as it explodes, we're already at $15 billion, and escalating from there. The world needs these products for patients globally, for countries that are wealthier and those that are emerging. Very much needed, and India must continue to play a vibrant role there. As a leader of a company that exports to 30-some countries, what are your thoughts there as we juxtapose that against the increasing regulatory climate?
Yeah, the fact that for 25 plus years we've been exporting, and for more than 10 years we've been exporting to US alone. And if the products from India were not of a required quality, we would not have landed to where we have been, supplying more than 40% of what they consume. So I don't think, there is some kind of a misconception about the quality of the end product coming from India, whereas what we have seen through the comments of the FDA Commissioner as well as some of the audits that have happened of late is not the concern for the product per se, but towards certain practices which might not have been in keeping with the evolving or enhanced expectation of the FDA. So, we had, I think Mr. Bhargava talked of shining or good facilities. So we moved from 20 years ago looking at dealing with inspections with just shining facilities to having good products, to having good processes. And it is all that I think the challenge right now is for all entrepreneurs, top down, inside the organizations, to just understand these renewed kind of expectations on process and to be able to demonstrate very clearly on data integrity kind of issues. I do not entirely believe things are going very wrong here, but I do believe that not everybody is knowing how it needs to be demonstrated that things are going right here.
Anil.
A couple of comments. Earlier we heard the word indispensable, and I think that really needs to be brought to the forefront. There's a small learning from an event that probably happened about 1.5 years ago. The influenza vaccinations were in short supply in the U.S.
Yes.
And actually, the FDA was held accountable for why was there a shortage. Okay, there were perhaps lapses in quality, but why were you not taking a proactive approach? So my point being is that by this visit, it actually demonstrates the indispensability of the India pharmaceutical industry. So it's actually a two-way street. It's not just one way where they come in with regulations. It's actually a two-way partnership in providing product into the marketplace that can continue to have the necessary supplies in place, whether it's in the U.S. or whether it's the global marketplace. And the second thing that I'd like to touch upon is really indirectly, if you look at it, if you build in this idea that it's process versus inspection, and it really, if you peel the onion back, as they say, if you look at the culture, and that is what our DNA is, and that is what makes regulations or compliant products. And one can even take it one step further and leverage this as an opportunity, is to look at, and we heard from the earlier speaker about the different inspections, not necessarily better or worse, but just different. And when it's different, the industry can approach the different regulatory agencies and say, what are you doing to unify your inspections, or what are you doing so that we have a single process or a single set of standards that we can follow? So those are some of the themes that we ought to consider leveraging for future discussions.
Powered by Panasonic Econavi Air Conditioners.
This week on the Autocar Show is the battle of the entry-level luxury sedans, the BMW 520d and the E250 CDI. Karthik drives the BMW 3 Series GT on Indian soil.
Presented by Reliance General Insurance, protecting what you value. Powered by Mobil 1, world's leading synthetic engine oil.
It's active. It's an instrument to hedge your risk, and it's all about the action. Welcome to the world of derivatives. Analyze all the trends, all the happenings of the last week gone by in the world of derivatives, and get a sense as to what the strategy is going forward for next week.
World of Derivatives, presented by BSC Investors Protection Fund.
Our speaker this morning, he used the words, quality culture is not percolating to the lower levels. This is a topic that we at UL spend a lot of time working with companies on. It's the culture of quality and safety, and we have CEOs, many of whom are here today, that clearly will stand up and say over and over again in many, many different ways that we are creating a culture of quality, that we care, and they are absolutely telling the truth. What happens as it goes down through these layers is that there are alternating pressures for productivity, for filling roles, for bringing people in, for training those people, for continuing to provide that on a continuous basis. So let's talk a little bit about culture, and let me turn first to you.
Yeah, I think you said it right in the sense, even today, many of the top people only have come here for this. I mean, we always send the top people in the company for training and all that. But many times the people at the bottom are not being noticed or neglected. It is in the hands of the company and the management they have to ensure that, at the bottom level, it is being percolated. So there is really a real problem in this thing, and this is a real requirement. Every company has to be aware of the lower levels, and then constant training programs have to be initiated, right from SOPs, implementation, and culture, high quality, and patient benefit, as our Kapil Bhargava mentioned, keeping patient in mind. If you are going to appeal to your worker that look at whether this product will be taken by your parents or your child, so then it is very appealing. The patient benefit is something which is very motivating for the workman. And if you are able to concentrate on the people down the line, I think it will definitely settle very well for quality culture.
So often it is said it is not the responsibility. Quality is ultimately the responsibility of senior management. by law in many parts of the world.
Yes.
But really, it cannot be delegated just to the quality department and stay at the top. Everyone must own quality. So let me ask you, Dr. Rajna, if, and your role as a senior quality executive, how do you percolate that through? How do you really put programs into effect that make people understand how important their role is every single day in achieving that goal?
Great question, and it's really the heart of our business, is how do we do it every day? And I think it starts, I'm a true believer, and it starts with me. How do I conduct my business on a daily basis? How do I walk the shop floors? How do I talk? It's not the executive sitting in the ivory tower going to get a company into trouble. It's the person, the lowest level person, who's touching the product every day. How do I take this? How do I take these words written in an SOP to make the person understand? I truly believe is, let's not work for the inspection. Let's not work because the inspector is coming. That language should be removed. We shouldn't be working with fear. I tell my staff few things every day. Don't be fearful. If you did something and you didn't write it, it was not done. Very simple. I believe in simplicity. Someone touched upon, don't make simple procedures for complex products. I want to reverse that a little bit. Keep it simple so my least educated person can understand what needs to be done. What is the meaning of a signature? And my opinion, we don't spend enough time to train the people that are touching our product, touching our patients. We're not able to make someone in documentation doing change control understand how this process or this procedure they're doing, how it's going to affect the patient. And I think that's a challenge which I take very personally. I believe in training, I believe in talking, and I believe in walking the talk.
Absolutely. And you know, you think about your workers, all the workers of your organizations, reading in the papers these past couple of weeks, and different things being said, and they may question, and you would want them to have a great sense of pride in the work that they do, regardless of their role, and how it is so important to the economy of their country. How do you share that? How do you instill that?
So what organizations such as mine have been doing is increasing the number of people in training as a department, increasing the number of people in regulatory affairs. These are the people who would be constantly aware. See, today we are talking largely about US as a market in light of what has happened in the last few weeks.
But it's a global.
But it's global, yes. So if my country exports to 30 geographies, then I have a regulatory affairs department which is constantly studying how regulations in those 30 countries are evolving. And somebody has got to do the job of taking this information down to the operations on the shop floor. So I think this is the new learning for Indian organizations. How to capture that information and see that it reaches the shop floor, and B, how to do it in such large measures. And that is going to be a challenge, and I think people recognize and realize this now, and they're moving ahead on that.
Yeah. Did you want, no?
So if you think about processes, will an auditor be looking for perfection, or will a auditor be looking for evidence that shows, okay, a problem was identified, it was monitored, it was resolved, and it was fixed? Now, which one of the two would build more confidence in the eyes of the auditor as to whether the process or the quality management system is in working order? And I would submit to you that would be the latter. Rather than looking for perfection, they would be looking for evidence that shows that, yes, there are identified issues, there are processes in place to fix them, and then there are changes that are occurring, and that starts with the shop floor. And that's the type of cultural change that needs to occur, whether you're talking about a plant in China or whether you're talking about a plant in the US or in India. That's germane to this business, because the entire pharmaceutical and the medical devices industry operate on a closed quality management system, which means it comes full circle. It's not a linear end-to-end system. So problems have to be identified, monitored, then fixed. Those are the type of evidences that would show and build confidence and trust, whether you're talking about a European auditor, Indian auditor, or a US auditor.
Yeah.
My understanding is all along, last 10 years, and it goes both ways, the regulators as well as the industry. Our focus has been on good manufacturing practice compliance. Risk-averse, compliance-oriented attitude for getting through inspections has been the prime concern for all of us for the last 10 years. And I say GMP, as the name suggests, is a practice. We know how to perform, but why we have not yet learned and have not been told, is my view. Quality systems approach for pharmaceutical CGMP regulation. This document became official in September 2006. What was started under 21st Century Initiative way back in 2002, 2006 ICH Q10 is still later than that. So globally, the reason for not being consistent in the practices, I say in India, what I have seen last 10 years is our GMP compliance is consistently inconsistent. Means we achieve something and we go down. And the reasons possibly are not found time to go back to the philosophy of the practice, that is quality management system, as you very rightly said. And therefore, there is a need to design and implement a quality management system that will provide tools. Basically, it is all about science. Regulation also has science, and we have